where every silence hides a secret. Here, we don't glorify crime, we unmask it. Each episode takes you deep into the minds of real gangsters, men who built empires on loyalty, fear, and fate, and lost it all the same way. From quiet dons to ruthless street legends, every story here is told with truth, tension, and the calm before the gunshot. So pour yourself a drink, dim the lights, and let's step back into the world where every whisper could be your last. They say some men die twice, once when their heart stops, and once when they step into the wrong room. Billy Batts didn't know it yet, but his second death began the night he came home. Funny, isn't it? Someone whispered in a Queens bar. A man can survive prison, but not jealousy. Before we go deeper, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more late-night Mafia stories. The place smelled like spilled whiskey and old Sinatra tunes. Neon lights flickered against chrome bar stools. And there he was, Billy, back from a long stretch in federal lockup, smiling like time had never touched him. He shook hands, hugged old faces, and raised a glass. "You kept my seat warm," he joked, tapping a friend on the shoulder. People laughed. But not everyone. Across the room, a younger wise guy watched him with tight shoulders, the kind of stare that didn't blink. Billy didn't notice. Maybe he didn't want to. After years behind bars, you either come home grateful, or you come home believing nothing changed without you. And in the Mafia, believing that is dangerous. Billy clinked his glass again, unaware that one simple joke he was about to make would seal his fate. Because someone in that bar wasn't ready to let the past stay buried. Years before the bar lights and the whispers, Billy Batts was just William Bentvena from Brooklyn, a tough kid with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. The neighborhood knew him as the guy who walked fast, talked straight, and believed loyalty was a language, not a rule book. He wasn't born into the life. He earned it. Running errands. Keeping quiet. Showing up when others didn't. In a world full of talkers, he was a doer, and the bosses noticed. "Billy's solid," they said. "A man you can trust to the grave." He had rituals too. Small ones. He polished his shoes every morning, even when he was broke. He folded his shirts like he was preparing for inspection. And he never spoke about business outside closed doors. Ever. That discipline made him different. It made him respected. 2 neighborhoods over, people swore he could walk into any room and read every face in seconds. But here's the irony, the man who saw through everyone would one day fail to see what was right in front of him. As Billy rose through the ranks, the life gave him everything he once dreamed of: money, respect, invitations to tables most men never saw. But the higher he climbed, the more enemies studied his footsteps. And one of them was about to step into his shadow. By his late 30s, Billy Batts wasn't just another Brooklyn wise guy, he was a man people stood up for when he walked into a room. He had survived the street years, played the long game, and earned something rare in the Mafia: position without noise. He didn't brag. He didn't flash cash. He just moved, efficiently. In the late 60s, he ran construction deals, gambling lines, and a quiet network of nightclubs where everyone paid to keep the peace. Even the older capos admitted it. "Billy? He's old school," one of them said. "A thinker, not a hothead." And that made the bosses trust him more. But every rise has a shadow. At the same time Billy was climbing, younger guys were trying to do the same, except they took shortcuts. They lived fast, talked loud, and confused fear with respect. Billy watched them from a distance, the way a teacher watches a student who thinks he knows too much. One of those young men would later become the center of Billy's downfall. They shared drinks, stories, and even laughs, but there was an undercurrent, a tension Billy ignored because he believed honor still carried weight. He didn't know it yet, but ambition always listens for a moment of weakness. And soon, Billy was about to give them one. By the time Billy Batts came home from prison, he wasn't returning as a nobody, he was stepping back into a kingdom he once controlled. Brooklyn streets still whispered his name. Old friends still nodded with respect. And the bosses? They welcomed him like a soldier who had done his time the right way, silent, loyal, unbroken. The life values that most men only talked about. Billy actually lived. "Good to have you back, Billy," an older capo said, gripping his hand. Billy smiled. "I did what I had to do." He carried himself with a calm authority, the kind that doesn't need threats or shouting. He walked slow, spoke measured, and treated people with fairness, a rare thing in a world that rewarded chaos. And because of that, younger guys watched him closely. Some admired him. Some studied him. One envied him. Whenever Billy entered a club or a backroom meeting, conversations straightened. He had that energy, not intimidating, just grounded. The kind of presence that makes men behave. But returning to power after years away was like stepping into a familiar house with new locks. Faces had changed. Alliances had shifted. And the younger wise guys who grew up without him didn't appreciate the old rules. Billy sensed it, but he didn't fear it. He still believed respect could bridge the gap. He didn't realize that one man's respect was another man's resentment, and that resentment had been simmering for years. 2 weeks after his welcome home celebration, Billy began noticing something subtle, a shift in the way the younger guys looked at him. Not openly. Not disrespectful. Just different. Like they were sizing him up, trying to decide if he was a mentor or an obstacle. One man in particular kept circling the edges of Billy's world, the same young wise guy who watched him so intensely at the bar. He was flashy, impulsive, always needing to prove he belonged. Billy had known him years earlier, back when he was just a kid running errands. "Good to see you back," the kid said one night, his smile tight. Billy nodded. "Good to see you grown," he replied, a line meant as friendly, but sharpened by the kid's ego into something else entirely. The cracks grew slowly. Billy would make a joke, the kid would take it personally. Billy would give advice, the kid would hear criticism. Others noticed too. "You and him all right?" a friend asked quietly. Billy shrugged. "He'll calm down. They all do." But he was wrong this time. Because this wasn't about respect. It was about territory, something neither man dared name out loud. And as Billy stepped deeper into his old routines, he missed the quiet truth sitting right in front of him. Loyalty doesn't break in storms. It breaks in whispers. And one whisper, in one bar, was about to become the spark that ended everything. By the early 70s, the feds were everywhere, in back rooms, in phone lines, in the eyes of strangers who lingered too long. Billy had survived his first stretch in prison, but coming home meant stepping into a world wired with microphones. He felt it in quiet moments. A phone click that came half a second too late. A sedan parked too neatly across the street. A man in a diner pretending to read the same page for 10 minutes. "Forget it," his friend murmured. "They ain't after you anymore." Billy smirked. "They're always after someone." Still, he wasn't reckless. He kept conversations short, avoided unnecessary heat, and reminded younger guys to watch their mouths. But paranoia doesn't care about discipline, especially when it's mixed with jealousy. And the young wise guy who resented Billy, he started feeding rumors. "Billy's talking too much," he whispered. "Billy thinks he's taking over again. Billy's old. Times changed while he was away." To the wrong ears, that sounded like danger. To the feds, it sounded like opportunity. Billy noticed the tension tightening around him, the way conversations stopped when he walked in, the way smiles came late, the way the kid watched him with a predator's patience. He couldn't prove it, but he felt something closing in. And he was right, the trap didn't come from the FBI. It came from his own table. It happened on a warm night, the kind where the streets stay awake longer than the people. Billy walked into the bar like he always did, calm, steady, nodding to familiar faces. He had no reason to think this night was any different. But the room was already tilted against him. The young wise guy sat at the counter, swirling his drink, eyes fixed on the door. Not angry. Not smiling. Just waiting. "Look who's here," he said loudly as Billy approached. "The man of the hour." Billy laughed, trying to keep it light. "I'm just the guy getting a drink." But the kid didn't want light. He wanted a moment. "You remember when you told me to shine your shoes back in the day?" he said, voice rising, inviting the room to listen. "You remember that, Billy?" People shifted uncomfortably. It was a trap disguised as nostalgia. Billy tilted his head, confused. "Kid, that was 20 years ago. We were busting chops." But the kid wasn't looking for laughter. He wanted power, an audience. "Yeah," he snapped. "Well, look who's back now." The bar went still. Billy opened his mouth to ease the tension, but it was too late. The insult, harmless in his mind, landed differently in the kid's pride. And in this life, wounded pride is gasoline. Billy didn't realize it yet, but the last calm moment of his life had already passed. They say violence doesn't start with noise, it starts with a look. And in that bar, the young wise guy gave Billy a look that froze the whole room. Billy leaned closer, still trying to defuse it. "Come on, kid. We're celebrating. Let it go." But the kid stood up slowly, jaw tight, shoulders squared. It wasn't about the shoeshine joke anymore. It was about everything he thought Billy represented: age, authority, a shadow he could never outgrow. "Yeah," the kid said, voice sharp as glass. "Let's celebrate." That's when he swung. The first punch came quick, a blur in the dim light. Billy stumbled but didn't fall. He wasn't a coward. He raised his hands, tried to speak, but two more guys were already moving in, men who had been waiting for a signal. Chairs scraped. Bottles rattled. The bar turned into a trap. "Enough!" Billy shouted, but it didn't matter. They dragged him toward the back, away from the crowd, away from witnesses. His head hit the floor. Boots followed. Fists. Shouts. A sick rhythm of betrayal. Billy didn't beg. He didn't cry. He just tried to breathe. Some say he whispered, "I trusted you," to the kid standing over him. The kid didn't answer. Because by then, the decision had been made long before the first punch. Billy's world went dim, and the life he had once dominated slipped out of his hands in silence. Years passed, but the story of Billy Bats didn't fade the way his attackers hoped. In prison yards, corner bars, and backroom card tables, his name moved like a quiet echo, not loud, not heroic, but unfinished. A man who kept his loyalty, did his time, and walked back into a world that no longer honored the old code. Some older wise guys shook their heads when his name came up. Billy was from a different time, one would say. Another added, kid didn't know who he was messing with. The younger generation, the ones raised on chaos instead of structure, listened with a mix of fascination and guilt. They didn't admire the brutality of his end, they admired the man he had been before it. And here's the irony. The kid who took him down never gained the respect he thought he would. What he destroyed that night wasn't a man, it was a mirror of the values he would never live up to. Billy's legacy didn't survive through fear or legend. It survived through the quiet stories told by men who remembered how he carried himself, disciplined, steady, never out of control. If he had lived to old age, he might have shaken his head at how the life changed, how loyalty thinned, how pride replaced principle. But Billy's true legacy lived on in a single truth: the old code still mattered to someone. If Billy Bats could speak from the other side of the life, he wouldn't talk about power, or fear, or the night everything ended. He'd talk about something quieter. Something men forget until it's too late. He'd say, the rules didn't fail me. People did. In the calm after his story, when the noise dies down and only the lesson remains, you realize Billy wasn't a tragic figure because he was weak, he was tragic because he believed the world he returned to still worked the way it used to. He believed loyalty was a shield. He believed friendships survive time. He believed respect could outlive ego. And maybe, in another era, he would have been right. But the life he walked back into wasn't the one he left. Younger men feared irrelevance more than dishonor. And that fear made them dangerous. The final truth is this: Billy Bats didn't die because he talked too much. He died because he trusted the wrong silence. In the end, his story isn't about violence, it's about values. What happens when the old code collides with a new world that no longer respects it? He outlived his era, just not the men inside it. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gangster stories like this one.